you're joining us. We are back, and we missed a lot over the last few weeks. A parasitic infection has caused explosive diarrhoea across the country. Lindsey Graham died, and Mitch McConnell maybe didn't. Graham Plattner dropped out of Maine's Senate race. The UK got a new Prime Minister. OpenAI said its AI went rogue and launched an unprecedented cyber attack. And Iran's new leader is now apparently more open to pursuing a nuclear weapon. And yet somehow, in the midst of all that, this happened too.
A peculiar little raccoon has taken the internet by storm, and now he's become an unlikely celebrity in Seattle.
It looks like he was squished up and hunched over.
Perched there on the fence post, this unusual yet adorable furball is none other than Jimothy. Yeah, you heard that right. He's got a name, and the internet has identified him as a short-spined raccoon. He's become somewhat of an international sensation.
I think Jimothy has come to us at a time where everyone just needs something to rally around.
Yes, he has. We needed this busted raccoon so bad. And people have gone to town celebrating him, from the fact that if you Google Jimothy, an animated version scurries across your screen, to the Seattle Mariners putting up the phrase, "Make noise for Jimothy," on their Jumbotron. It turns out the world is such a mess right now. The only thing that could truly unite us was a dishevelled raccoon with the posture of an arthritic bog witch. Jimothy is not the hero we need, but he is the hero we deserve. But rather than focus on everything we've missed over the last few weeks, we're actually going to dive straight in with our main story this week, which concerns Donald Trump, a man who, offence very much meant, looks like he is slowly turning into Mrs. Doubtfire. Specifically, we're going to look at something Trump's dedicated a lot of attention to over the last few years: crypto. He's even called himself the first crypto president, which is a pretty big turnaround, given that just 5 years ago, he not only called Bitcoin a scam, he was also giving interviews like this.
Do you ever dabble in Bitcoin or cryptos?
I don't. I like the currency of the United States. I think it's, I think the others are potentially a disaster waiting to happen. I don't know. I feel that it hurts the United States currency. I think we should strengthen, we should be invested in our currency, not in, they may be fake. Who knows what they are?
Yeah, Trump was not a big fan of cryptos back then, and that conversation is basically what you would expect from two septuagenarians talking about Bitcoin. It has the same vibe of cranky befuddlement as Statler asking Waldorf what he thinks of ethical non-monogamy. Stu Varney, in particular, there sounds like a grandpa desperately trying to find something to talk about with his teenage grandson. So, you dabble in the cryptos? Are you on the TikToks? I saw on the evening news that Charlie D'Armadillo is pretty popular right now. Please just say anything to me. I'm going to be dead in 5 years. But since then, Trump's had a pretty significant change of heart, to the point that in 2024, he delivered the keynote at a Bitcoin convention where he said this.
Those who say that Bitcoin is a threat to the dollar have the story exactly backwards. I believe it is exactly backwards. This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. And Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon. I want America to be the nation that leads the way, and that's what's going to happen.
Now, if you are not a crypto person, going to the moon is a catchphrase in that world, which is a little weird, as I always assumed the official catchphrase for crypto was a first date conversation's worst nightmare. And while there are several possible explanations for why Trump made such a 180 on crypto, including that he saw an industry willing to spend a shitload to help him get elected, I'd argue the biggest one is probably that Trump realised just how much money he personally could end up making from dealing with a speculative asset, because it's turned out to be a lot. His recent financial filings show that in just his first year back in office, his personal income surged to more than $2.2 billion, most of which came from his family's crypto businesses, which brought in about $1.4 billion. In fact, crypto's become the Trump family's dominant business interest, overshadowing their real estate empire and every other business they have ever had. And as this ethics attorney explains, there is a crucial difference between crypto and all Trump's other ventures.
President Trump has sold steaks. He sold gold sneakers, Bibles. How is this any different?
At least those had some intrinsic value. This is like a perfect vehicle to funnel money to him and his family to enrich them.
Right, although personally, I do take issue with the idea that the Trump steak or sneakers held any intrinsic value. Because if, gun to my head, I had to eat one and wear the other on my foot, I'm picking shoe for food and steak for shoe. Now, as for Trump's Bibles, I'll just point out that the website that sold them had a question on their FAQ that said, "What if my Bible has sticky pages?" Which could only get more off-putting if the answer provided was just blame Craig. So given all of that, tonight, let's talk about Trump, his crypto holdings, and what they mean for all of us. And right off the bat, I should say Trump and his family have a truly absurd number of crypto-related ventures involved in all sorts of business deals, to the point that those who've tried keeping track of them have wound up making diagrams like this, which looks so intricate. It's like someone tried to map out all the relationships on Vanderpump Rules. A solid line is dating, a dashed line is exes, and a dotted line is hand stuff. And don't worry, we are not going to talk about all the Trump family's crypto involvements. For instance, I will spare you the details about Eric Trump's Bitcoin mining company, except to show you this clip of him explaining the brilliant way he helped his partners come up with its name.
Never forget saying to them, listen, it's got to have two words in it. It has to have America and it has to have Bitcoin. And one of the two guys said, listen, Eric, American Bitcoin, that's got to be the name.
Holy shit, Eric. That is so smart. I mean, if I were naming an American Bitcoin company, I'd have probably said the words you had to use were Albania and giraffe, but I guess that's why I'm not a business genius like Eric Trump is. Instead, I'm going to focus on just two of the Trump family's major crypto ventures, and I'll describe them the way I'm pretty sure he describes his oldest sons, specifically the big one and the dumb one. And let's start with the dumb one, Trump's meme coins. Meme coins are basically just online jokes converted into digital money, which are worth only what people are willing to pay for them. You're probably aware of meme coins like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, and Fartcoin, a name I'm honestly shocked Eric Trump didn't come up with. I'll never forget saying, listen, it's got to have two words in it. It has to have fart, and it has to have coin. And they said, Eric, Fartcoin, that's got to be the name. And as this analyst points out, the whole value of a meme coin is built on its novelty.
It is a coin that means nothing. It is like buying a pet rock, except you don't even get a rock. It has no value, it has no trading value, it's not used in commerce, nothing.
Right, although at the same time, let's try and put some respect on the pet rock's name. It was the idea of Gary Dahl, who sold enough to become a millionaire in the 70s in basically 1 year. He bought a bunch of smooth rocks from a builder's supply store in Mexico for a penny a piece, and he sold them for around $4, which in today's money is $25. And just think about that. 2 years after an oil crisis, and in the midst of a recession, this guy convinced a bunch of, I can only assume, coked-out lunatics to pay the equivalent of multiple hours of their wages to buy a pet rock. Then, Gary cashed out and fucked off into the horizon. Nothing has touched the marketing brilliance of the pet rock. In fact, everyone in this audience, look under your seats right now, because you will find, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding, HBO doesn't have rock money anymore. Are you crazy? The point is, most meme coins, seemingly by design, basically follow the trajectory of pump and dump schemes. They spike in value when they first come out and then immediately crash, with insiders selling at the peak. And in Trump's case, just 3 days before his second inauguration, he launched the Trump meme coin in a social media post where he told everyone to have fun. 2 days later, on the eve of the inauguration, Melania launched her own meme coin with this social media post, which looks like she's dropping an album of Adele covers. And while it is by no means the worst part, maybe they should have workshopped the name of her coin a bit more so that it doesn't read as Smellania. Anyway, when Trump's coin first launched, many in the crypto community genuinely couldn't believe it.
It was one of the craziest nights I've ever experienced in crypto, ever. Like, it was nuts because no one believed that it was real. Everyone thought it was a scam. Everyone thought that his account was hacked.
OK, but as far as Trump's account getting hacked, how could you even tell? Remember, this is a man who has posted this depiction of himself taking a selfie with a lion. This one of him is the anime character Naruto. And this one of him walking with a distractingly ripped alien in handcuffs. Honestly, the only thing that will make me think Trump might have been hacked is if he suddenly posted a normal, coherent sentence without any randomly capitalised words. And unsurprisingly, the Trump coins then did exactly what meme coins tend to do. They initially skyrocketed in valuation, soaring so high that for a few hours, the Trumps and their business partners were sitting on at least $50 billion worth of it. But then inevitably, they crashed, and hard. In fact, by the following December, Trump's coin was down 92% since its peak, while Smelania was down 99%. Almost a complete wipeout in value. But Trump himself walked away with a $636 million payout. And one of the weirder interludes in his coin's journey actually came last year when Trump managed to briefly juice his coin's value up a bit by holding an intimate private dinner for its 220 top holders. And in doing so, he was basically offering access to the White House in exchange for an investment in one of his crypto ventures. A former special counsel to Obama even called the dinner an ethics nightmare. Though some of the attendees, like this guy who had roughly $500,000 tied up in the Trump coin, did leave feeling a little scammed.
Going into this dinner, I was hoping to at least get a picture with Trump or actually do TikTok, so I was hoping to maybe do a trend or some short video with him, maybe like 15 seconds. It's not gonna take much of his time. I just got to the Trump dinner. Trump came, gave a speech for, I think, exactly 23 minutes. And then he left. His helicopter was right back there. Left pretty quickly, didn't stay for the dinner. Maybe he'll come back, you never know.
I think you already know this, but he didn't come back. And I'm honestly racking my brain right now trying to find a single ounce of sympathy for someone who purchased a bunch of Trump's meme coin to attend a dinner where his main goal was to, and I quote, do a TikTok with Trump. But I've got nothing. I refuse to feel sadness for someone who has seemingly chosen to sit in a Lamborghini dealership and dress themselves like the second coming of Limp Bizkit. I can't do it. I can't do it. But while that dinner may have been a bust for those who attended it, shortly after it was announced, the Trump coin jumped approximately 30%. And look, we don't know if Trump sold any coins during that bump or indeed if anyone involved with it did. But the very fact we don't know is part of the problem here, because it clearly doesn't look good for a president to be involved in something like that. Jimmy Carter famously chose to put his peanut farm in a blind trust to avoid perceived conflicts of interest. And it is a little weird that, to go by Trump standards, if he just invented his own novelty currency instead, called Jimbo's Nut Bucks, people would have probably been fine with it. And it is worth remembering, while Trump personally made hundreds of millions of dollars with this nonsense, people got hurt. Nearly 1 million people who bought into the coin lost money, with their losses totaling over $3.8 billion. And while one of them was this guy, so you can't be 100% mad, it is still pretty shitty. But Trump's meme coin is just the tip of the iceberg here, which actually brings us to his family's biggest crypto venture, World Liberty Financial, the business that Trump and his sons co-founded and announced just weeks before the last election. And unsurprisingly, his sons once again brought their incredible business acumen to naming the company.
We call it World Liberty because of the liberty aspect of it, but also because of the world aspect of it, right?
Yeah. You know, that's such a good point, isn't it? It's called World Liberty Financial because of the liberty aspect, but also the world aspect. And you know what? Don't forget the financial aspect too. It really is the perfect combination of aspects. Now, we briefly touched on World Liberty shortly after it launched in our segment on Trump's businesses, pointing out that its co-founders include the human Axe body spray cans Zach Folkman and Chase Hero. If you didn't see that segment, just know Folkman used to teach cringe-inducing classes on how to pick up women called Date Hotter Girls. And Hero has described himself as the dirtbag of the internet and once described crypto like this.
You can literally sell in a can, wrapped in piss, covered in human skin, for $1 billion if the story's right. Because people will buy it, and that is what is going on in the crypto space. And like I said by the video, I'm not going to question the right and wrong of all that. All I'm saying is, as a human being, you have the ability to make a ton of money right now.
Okay, there are a lot of things that I want to say about that, but first and foremost, now is not the time to be talking with your hands, Chase. Let's put them at 10 and 2, you Ed Hardy nightmare. Now, since launching World Liberty Financial, the Trumps have raked in huge amounts of money, meaning that one company is now worth more to their family than any other business, including their stake in Trump Media and even Mar-a-Lago. And they've achieved this by giving people a number of different ways to buy in. The first is through purchasing the company's token. It's a so-called governance token, so owning it typically doesn't give you any stake in the company, it just allows you to vote on how the platform operates. And for this particular token, 75% of the proceeds flow directly to the Trumps as a fee. And if you are thinking that that sounds like a really easy way to send money to Trump to try and curry favour with him, you'd be right about that. Take Justin's son. He spent $75 million buying those governance tokens, which, on one level, probably shouldn't be surprising, given he seems to have a habit of buying some very dumb shit.
Another investor is Justin's son, the eccentric Chinese billionaire, perhaps best known for buying...
It's yours. Congratulations. Thank you very much indeed.
And then eating a $6.2 million banana duct taped to a wall.
Look, I'm not going to say whether that banana was actually worth $6.2 million or not. I am not an art appraiser. I just have the bitchy attitude of one. The point is, that is the guy who spent $75 million on World Liberty governance tokens, as well as, by the way, spending nearly $38 million on Trump's memecoin. And while that all sounds very stupid, because in every important way it really is, it may not actually have been a complete waste of money for Son, because it turns out, at the time Trump took office, he was actually fighting a lawsuit from the SEC, alleging he defrauded investors by manipulating the price of his Tron cryptocurrency with fake trades. Fun fact, Tron also allegedly hosted 45% of all illicit crypto money flows in 2023. And while Tron insists that it is taking steps to prevent criminals from using its technology for illegal activity, you have to admit, it is still pretty impressive that against all odds, it turns out that the worst Tron is now somehow no longer the one starring Jared Leto. Crucially, just after Sun began ploughing all that money into Trump's crypto ventures, the SEC suddenly paused its case against him. And then, in March, this happened.
The government settling a fraud case against a crypto billionaire, Justin Sun. The SEC saying that one of Sun's firms is now going to pay $10 million in a penalty, but will neither of the companies will admit wrongdoing.
Wow, to put that $10 million fine in terms that we can now all understand, that is 1.6 bananas taped to a wall. Now, Justin Sun has denied there was any quid pro quo there, but the thing is, that sequence of events where someone helps World Liberty Financial make money and then coincidentally get something that they wanted all along is by no means a one-off, because a similar sequence of events took place with the company's so-called stablecoin, USD1. Now, unlike meme coins, the price of which can fluctuate wildly, a stablecoin is supposed to have a set monetary value. So basically, one coin should always be worth $1. And this can be lucrative for companies like World Liberty, because when someone uses real money to buy a stablecoin, it can then invest that money into treasuries and earn interest on it. That is why it was very good news for Trump that, as we've discussed before, the founder of Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, facilitated a massive $2 billion purchase of USD1 by an investment fund tied to the United Arab Emirates. Now, at the time, by sheer coincidence, he was pursuing a presidential pardon for a money laundering conviction, which he eventually got. And while Binance and its founder will insist that they did nothing wrong, the fact is that $2 billion transaction was absolutely huge for World Liberty because, as crypto experts will point out, it instantly made their stablecoin seem much more legit.
So it took World Liberty from being a small project that maybe was on the roadmap after the election purely for the name to being one of the largest stablecoins in the world in a single transaction. So it vaulted them from small time to the big leagues.
The Emiratis entrusted $2 billion to a currency that had been on the market 5 weeks. One source told us it wasn't strange, it was nuts.
Right. And it sure seems like that was due to the Trump connection, because I'm not sure why else anyone would put $2 billion worth of trust in a company founded by the dirtbag of the internet, a walking restraining order, and two brothers who probably lost their shit over the name cheese balls. Wait, they're balls and they taste like cheese. It's fucking genius. But that was only part of the story, because, as I said, the entity that actually put up the $2 billion was an investment firm linked to the government of the UAE, a government, incidentally, that very much wanted to get its hands on advanced computer chips made by US companies. Now, the Biden administration had largely stymied that deal over fears that giving chips to the UAE could ultimately lead to them getting to China. But you will never guess what happened not long after that crypto deal went through.
2 weeks after the $2 billion transaction, President Trump travelled to the UAE for an official visit.
Yesterday, the two countries also agreed to create a path for UAE to buy some of the world's most advanced AI semiconductors from American companies, a very big contract.
The US then announced it would allow the UAE to buy hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA's advanced AI chips. While there's no evidence that one deal was explicitly offered in return for the other, the timing is extraordinary.
Sure. Let's go with extraordinary. It's not the word that I would use, but it turns out my lawyers tell me that the word that I actually want to use would cost HBO a few million in legal fees, so extraordinary it is then. And the thing is, that may not even be the most important link between the UAE and World Liberty Financial, because it later emerged that another transaction had quietly happened right before Trump came back into office.
Just days before Trump's second inauguration, the Journal reports 49%, nearly half of the Trump family crypto company, World Liberty Financial, was purchased for $500 million by Sheikh Tahnoun bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who heads the United Arab Emirates State Investment Fund and serves as National Security Advisor, sometimes referred to as the Spy Sheikh.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the guy at the centre of all of this is apparently called the Spy Sheikh. Which, frankly, isn't great, given that Spy Sheikh sounds like the title of a culturally insensitive 90s thriller starring Steven Seagal. The Spy Sheikh is the brother of UAE's president, and he got that nickname because he spent the last decade as the country's national security advisor, even at one point becoming embroiled in a spying scandal when it emerged that operatives hired by the Emirates were targeting human rights activists, including one whose baby monitor they hacked to spy on his family, which sure seems like the sort of thing you would want to know before releasing, I don't know, high-powered computer chips to a country. Although, for what it's worth, hacking a baby monitor for spying also doesn't make a lot of sense to me. No one is discussing their political activist plans while putting their baby to bed. If a parent is saying anything, it is whispering over and over again, I will pay you $1,000 to go to sleep right now. But because World Liberty is a private company, we didn't even find out about that investment until the Wall Street Journal reported it earlier this year, even though that deal involves a foreign government official taking a major ownership stake in an incoming US president's company and steering, at a minimum, $187 million to the president's family. That is literally unprecedented in American politics. Now, I have to say, World Liberty insists the company has no role in or influence on government policy, and the White House told us that the president only acts in the best interests of the American public, and there are no conflicts of interest, which, huge for this country if true. Meanwhile, Trump has insisted he does not control his crypto investments, and in fact, he barely pays attention to them.
Mr. President, the Wall Street Journal reported that the royal family of Abu Dhabi invested hundreds of millions of dollars in your World Liberty Financial. Can you explain why you decided to take that investment? Was that a transaction?
Well, I don't know about it. I know that crypto is a big thing, and they like it. A lot of people like it. The people behind me like it. My sons are handling that. My family is handling it. And I guess they get investments from different people.
Oh, come the fuck on. In most cases, I am willing to believe that Trump doesn't talk to his sons, especially considering his wedding present to Don Jr. was apparently to not show up. But if there is anything that binds the three of these men together, it's loving money and having the beady eyes of a Build-A-Bear that's been banned from entering Victoria's Secret. So when a deal comes up that will put tens of millions of dollars in their pockets, it is really hard for me to believe that Trump is unaware of it. The point here is, it sure seems like Trump's exploiting crypto sketchiness for maximum profit. And importantly, at the same time, he's now making it much easier for others to do the same. We've shown you this clip before, but at that Bitcoin conference, the biggest cheer Trump got came when he promised to fire the then head of the SEC, who was seen to be too tough on crypto.
On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman. I didn't know he he was that unpopular. Well, I didn't know he was that unpopular. Let me say it again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa.
Wow, I've got to say, thank goodness he only said that twice, because the way that response escalated, if he'd said, I will fire Gary Gensler a third time, he'd have floated out of that room on a river of cum. Now, Gensler, seeing the writing on the wall, stepped down on Trump's first day back in office, and in his place, Trump appointed the very pro-crypto Paul Atkins, and it is notable that when the Times looked into it, it found the SEC had eased up on more than 60% of the crypto cases that were ongoing when Trump returned to the White House, moving to pause litigation, lessen penalties, or outright dismiss the cases. And this administration is now trying to lock in that lax regulatory environment for the foreseeable future, because they, along with the crypto industry, are currently making a hard push for a sweeping crypto bill called the Clarity Act that would fundamentally reorder how crypto is regulated, largely shifting it out of the purview of the SEC, whose core mission includes protecting investors, and giving that authority instead to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, a short-staffed federal agency with limited enforcement capacity and no explicit mandate to protect investors. And if the Clarity Act passes, the changes could be hard to undo. One executive of a crypto trade group has even said it gets really hard for the next administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat, to really change too much about it. And that should be worrying here, especially given that nothing in the latest draft of the Clarity Act would prevent Trump from continuing to profit from his meme coin or other crypto ventures. And look, I know you might be saying, why does any of this matter to me? I've been trying so hard to avoid thinking about or dealing with crypto right up until this point in my life. But that is actually sort of the problem here. Because if these conflicts of interest were as easy to understand as something like Jimmy Carter and his peanut farm, I think there'd be a lot more alarm about just how flagrantly corrupt and compromised Trump looks here. That is why we badly need proper guardrails going forward. But the Clarity Act is just not the answer. And until we find a better one, maybe just assume that if you see the Trump family engaging in the future in a major crypto deal, probably with an embarrassingly unimaginative name, some shady shit is likely going down. Because if after hearing all this, you truly believe that everyone funneling money to Trump through crypto, including the spy sheikh, expects nothing in return and is just making a sound, rational business decision, then frankly, I have got a $6.2 million banana that I would like to sell you. And now, this.
And now, more delightfully bizarre musings from Phillies color commentator John Kruk.
So you know how I think of things when I have free time and I shouldn't?
Yep.
So I was wondering.
Yep.
The person who invented the clock.
Yeah. Which one, the digital or the hand?
The first clock ever.
Okay.
How did that person know what time it was? Did I ever tell you we were cutting down trees on my place in West Virginia and some guy started shooting at us?
I don't think you did tell me that one.
Yeah. That was fun. 25 pounds of pressure if someone is attacking you and you can rip their ear off. They said it's the same amount of pressure to open up a pickle jar. Will you be going on the road, Annie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you call me sir again, I'm going to punch you.
Salad on a sandwich. It's like croutons. The bread's the croutons. 0-2 to Suarez. Outside.
If I ever become a vegan, would you just punch me in the face as hard as you can? So we flew to Mexico City, and they left me there. Now, this is when I was still being looked at from the FBI.
Right.
So I'm sure they had a no-fly zone for me. Some kid came up to me, had to be like 19, and didn't speak English. He just asked me to come with him. I'm like, hell, what the hell? You know, I got in the car with him. I'm like, all right, I'm probably going to die, but it's been a good run.
We got time, John.
How much, though, Tom? That's the big question.
Well, we have lights, so we can go as long as we want, really.
I don't think that's what I was talking about.
I was trying to get you off the topic.
Thank you. I'm not depressed anymore.
Breaking ball 2-2.
Moving on. Before we go, A quick word about the World Cup. And by the way, a big congratulations to Spain and an even bigger fuck you to Argentina. Fuck you. Fuck you so much. You hurt me again. You did it to me again. The World Cup brought fans from all over the globe, and it was great to watch them experience what America has to offer. From this tweet from a Swedish fan reading, "Europe, we need ranch ASAP," to Erling Haaland returning home with, among other things, a taxidermied raccoon. And Jimothy, no! But there was one place that became something of a destination for international visitors, specifically this.
OK, we're inside Buc-ee's, and it has to be the biggest gas station ever. It's huge.
It's like a supermarket rest area on steroids, by the way.
Get a cart with unlimited refills for $1. It's bigger than my head. What the fuck?
Got everything. A biscuit, sausage and egg cheese, bacon, egg cheese biscuit. I might try that because I don't know what a biscuit is.
Now, to be fair, I didn't actually know what a biscuit was before I came to America either, because in England, a biscuit is a cookie, while in the US, it's apparently a mound of butter wearing a bread costume. Still, madam, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. A life that will now be both improved and shortened by biscuits. If you're not familiar with Buc-ee's, it's a gas station chain originating in Texas where you can not only waterboard your bladder with Dr. Pepper, but where they famously do everything to excess.
These days, Buc-ee's has 41 travel centers throughout the South and boasts 2 world records for the world's largest gas station and the world's longest car wash.
Whoa. Technicolor. Haven't seen that before.
OK, all right, calm down a bit. Car washes jizz Pepto-Bismol over your windows all the time is what they do. But second, if that is the world's longest car wash, it probably also holds the record for the world's longest awkward silence after Sharon announced she wanted to divorce. Todd had already pulled in, so there was no way out, unlike their marriage. But as you have already seen, Buc-ee's is by no means just a gas station. They also sell an enormous array of food, from jerky to fresh brisket chopped right in front of you, to over 20 rotating flavours of fudge, to Buc-ee's famous beaver nuggets, which look like beaver shits but actually taste like caramel-flavoured beaver shits. Buc-ee's also claims to have the world's cleanest restrooms, and to be fair, they do look very nice. Not only do they have multiple toilet paper rolls to choose from in some locations, they even put lights above each stall to indicate if they're occupied, a technology apparently called tush lights, which is an adorable name for something that essentially tells you whether or not someone is shitting their brains out behind a closed door. And crucially, almost everything Buc-ee's sells is branded with its mascot, the Buc-ee's Beaver. Not only is there a bronze version of him in front of many stores, he appears on merch like tumblers, hats, magnets, Band-Aids, stuffed animals, and even their own beaver nugget-scented toilet spray. And when you see all of that, you do start to understand why international travellers have been so taken by Buc-ee's, as it is quintessentially American. It's gloriously weird, it's massive, and it's also full of salty snacks and red meat. But unfortunately, there is something else deeply American about Buc-ee's, and that is this.
The Buc-ee's Beaver is fighting an alligator. The popular stop for travelers is taking San Antonio's Choke Canyon Barbecue restaurant to federal court this week. Buc-ee's claims the cartoon alligator wearing a cowboy hat is too similar to its logo of a beaver wearing a baseball cap.
The mega gas station Buc-ee's is suing another gas station chain over alleged trademark infringement. Attorneys for Buc-ee's argue the Super Fuels logo is a little too similar to Buc-ee's logo and would probably confuse customers.
Buc-ee's has filed a trademark lawsuit against Georgia-based Teddy's Market. Teddy's is a small gas station chain with locations in Canton and Ball Ground. Buc-ee's claims Teddy's cartoon bear logo is too similar to its famous beaver.
Yeah, it turns out Buc-ee's loves to sue other companies, particularly those with animal mascots. They've filed over a dozen lawsuits over the years and threatened a bunch more. And to be fair, with some, you can kind of see why they were mad. For instance, Buc-ee's sued a clothing company for selling these shirts of what sure looks like their beaver holding a machine gun. And they threatened to sue this store in Mexico called Buc-ee, spelled with a K and 2 I's, and which featured this as their mascot, which looks like what a police sketch artist would draw if an eyewitness saw the real Buc-ee's mascot committing a homicide. Now, that store did eventually wind up changing their sign to look like this instead, which is just fantastic. I love that they kept the Buc-ee's part and just added Mini Super to it, not addressing the key problem at all, while also changing their mascot to what appears to be Chippendale if they got really into dirt bikes and meth. But I have to say, other Buc-ee's lawsuits seem more than a little excessive. Take Choke Canyon, that chain with the alligator logo. Buc-ee's claimed that it infringed on their beaver trademark, in part because of the use of a black circle encompassing the alligator, the use of a yellow background, and the use of the red-coloured tongue of the alligator compared to the red hat on the beaver, which sounds like they are claiming that they have legal ownership of black circles, yellow backgrounds, and the colour red. And some of their more recent lawsuits just seem like outright bullying. Buc-ee's is currently suing an Ohio chain called Mickey's, whose logo they claim incorporates a cartoon animal facing right with wide eyes and a smile, overlaying a round background, something they say is likely to cause confusion among consumers. And please try and keep that claim in mind when I show you Mickey's actual logo, because it is this. And I would argue, if you get confused between those two logos, that is an issue with you, because one is a beaver and one is a moose. They are aggressively different animals. In fact, the first question a medic should ask you if they suspect that you have a concussion should be, is this moose also this beaver? If you answer yes, go straight to the hospital, do not pass go, do not collect $200, you are conked. But that is not even close to all. As you saw, they're also suing Teddy's, a gas station with a koala mascot. They claim Teddy's infringes on their trademark for a variety of reasons, including that both names are two-syllable words beginning with a hard consonant sound, have a second hard consonant sound separating the syllables, and both end with an ease sound. They also complain that both characters are arbitrarily wearing hats. And, honey, be serious. You cannot trademark arbitrarily wearing a hat, because if you could, Pharrell would have already beaten you to it. And if you thought all of those suits were ridiculous, just wait until you see this one.
Jared Hewitt says his underwear line is a hot commodity inside the market at North Park Mall. His small business is called Nut Huggers Apparel, but the past few weeks have not been funny for Hewitt. After sinking hundreds of thousands of dollars into his business and finally seeing it succeed, he was shocked by an email from Buc-ee's.
The initial request came in a little hot and heavy. They suggested that they owned all cartoon rodents.
Oh, come on, Buc-ee's. You don't own all cartoon rodents. You think you own Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Stuart Little, the Beavers from Angry Beavers, Pinky and the Brain, Rocky, Chuck E. Cheese, Rufus the Naked Mole Rat, Templeton or Jerry? You think you own these two cartoon rodents? Frozen in the midst of sexual ecstasy? Because I've got news for you. You don't. I do. I own those rats. But that wasn't all, because when they started going back and forth, Buc-ee's had a pretty broad range of demands.
Buc-ee's stated Hewitt's logo was a trademark infringement because it uses a cartoon brown rodent character smiling with buck teeth in various depictions. Buc-ee's demanded Hewitt stop using cartoons, rodents, the colors red, yellow, and brown, no baseball hats, and only front-facing images. Hewitt says he emailed back, saying he would stop using specific colors and a side profile of his logo, but even then, it was not enough.
Look, that is clearly just ridiculous. For one thing, if front-facing images are apparently OK, why the fuck did Buc-ee's go after the Teddy's koala? That bear is looking you right in the eyes. He is peering into your very soul. And Buc-ee's constant complaint that no one else has the right to use animal logos isn't just absurd on its face. It gets actively irritating when you see this interview with the company's founder, Arch Beaver Applin, in which he explains both his name and his inspiration for Buc-ee's.
Beaver was my nickname. My mom named me that when I was born.
Buc-ee Beaver Space Guard. Brusha, brusha, brusha.
There was a cartoon character way back, really before my time.
It's standing for your teeth.
A toothpaste commercial, and he was Buc-ee Beaver. And so this fella always called me Buc-ee Beaver growing up.
Wait. Hold on. So you are telling me he ripped his company's whole deal from a toothpaste rodent? Because that's the same fucking beaver I've been looking at for the past 10 minutes. Buc-ee's is trying to say an alligator looks too similar to its beaver. Meanwhile, these two look like the fucking Property Brothers. And incredibly, to date, Buc-ee's has won nearly all of the cases that it's brought, usually because other companies opt to settle and redesign their logos or just fold completely. And that is probably because most just don't have the resources to fight a company this big. But Buc-ee's should be careful here, because as one legal expert has said, the more you do this, the more you might run into somebody who has the means or the will to fight with you about it. And that is where we come in, because it turns out we very much have the will to get into a fight with Buc-ee's. We also happen to already have a rodent mascot on hand, one Mr. Nutterbutter, who's helpfully no stranger to frivolous lawsuits. And you know what? We realised that after all this time, Mr. Nutterbutter doesn't have his own logo, which didn't seem right to us, so we made one for him. And let me walk you through our design process. First, we came up with this image that depicts Mr. Nutterbutter as a cartoon animal with wide eyes and a smile facing right, a direction that just seemed natural for him. But it still felt like it needed a splash of colour, so we made his tongue red. And then we chose to encompass Mr. Nutterbutter in a black circle with a yellow background. And at that point, the only thing that it felt it really needed was some text below the logo, so we decided to go with this. We liked the phrase "buck off," mainly because it's a two-syllable word comprised of 6 letters, beginning with a hard consonant sound and a second hard consonant sound separating the syllables. And finally, we realised, what is the point of having a logo as eye-catching as this if we don't then put it on stuff to sell? Which is why I'm so happy to announce that you can now buy this image on a variety of products, from tumblers to hats to shirts to onesies to mugs to pyjamas to umbrellas to stickers to socks to, of course, underwear. You can buy any or all of these items for a limited time at buc-off.com, with all profits going to hunger-free America. So, if any prominent gas station chain out there has an issue with our new logo and products and wants to get lawyers involved, then you know what? Bring it the fuck on. Although, remember, in doing so, you'd be directly taking food out of hungry people's mouths. And it's also worth knowing that Mr. Nutterbutter currently has a perfect record in court, and the last guy who sued us over him is technically dead now. That is not a threat. That's not a threat. It's just an objective fact. So at this point, Buc-ee's, I guess the beaver nugget is in your court. The next move is yours. And I'm anxious to see what it's going to be. And you know who else is looking forward to finding out? This guy! He's here! He's back! Hey, buddy! Hey! It's so great to see you, Mr. Nutterbutter. Hey, can I ask, why are you wearing that hat?
I don't know. It seems completely arbitrary.
Yeah, that's right. You're arbitrarily wearing a hat. And if you want a hat just like Mr. Nutterbutter's, all you have to do is go to buc-off.com. Remember, Christmas is only 5 months away. Why not go buck wild? That is our show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night. Buddy, welcome home. Shall we?